Hello, in this video I'm going to model a human head using Blender 2.9. It's going to be a fairly low poly model, but I'm going to add a more detailed multi-resolution model that I will then bake the details onto the low poly model as a normal map. Yeah, and wherever you are in the video you will be able to see my mouse and keystrokes down here. And I'm also going to speed up this video at several occasions just to make the viewing experience a little less tedious. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to start by removing the camera and the light here, since I usually think that they obstruct the view. And then I'm going to select the default cube here and go into edit mode by pressing tab. I'm then going to press M to merge all these vertices at the center. So you just have one vertex to start working with. I'm then going into front face view by pressing numpad 1, and I'm going to move this vertex by pressing G to the left like so. What I'm going to do then is going to go into the modifier tab right here, and I'm going to add a mirror modifier. I'm going to make sure that clipping here is selected, just to make sure that the vertex will actually clip in the middle here and merge with the other vertex, so you don't have any unnecessary holes. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to start to extrude this vertex like so. And I'm going to start by creating the upper lip. So something like that. And of course, this is going to be the lower lip. And then I'm going to select the edge select tool here and select all the top edges here. And I'm going to extrude that upwards a couple of times to create the upper lip. Then I'm going to do the same thing here for the lower lip and the beginning of the cheek down here. And I select these two and extrude them a bit like that. Okay, so of course here I'm going to have the nose. So I'm going to put on proportional editing mode by pressing O. So if you move this one up here, you will actually interfere with the other ones here, so you get a more organic movement here. So what I want to do here is I want to make sure to model the nose, and since I want some more detail on the nose, I'm actually going to do it like this. I will show you a bit later. So I'm going to create more or less a hole for where the actual tip of the nose is going to be. I'm gonna realize why I do that later on. Okay, and this is of course going to be the nose bridge here. I'm gonna do it like that. I'm gonna rotate this here and fill that in. So what I'm doing now is I'm creating more or less a loop here, and here I'm gonna add a edge loop cut here. Just press in the middle there, and then I'm gonna do like that. And yeah, when I press select two edges here and press F, then I fill them in. Of course, you see the same here that you have two edges there. So I'm gonna increase the number of loop cuts here to 2, and I'm gonna add those two there, and then I'm gonna fill it. Fill that in like that and like that. This is the tip of nose, as I said, and I would like to have more detail here without actually spilling out, so that when I do a loop cut here, I don't want this to spill over to the other side of the model. So that's why if I do like this, I can add some detail in the model wherever I want without, I'm only affecting the top lip here. Okay, good. So of course, this doesn't really look like a very good model, and it probably won't in quite a long time. So just bear with me. And yeah, I'm gonna continue working here. So I just say some things more here. I'm going to increase this up here. This is going to be the nose bridge, and then I'm going to add the eye that's going to go up out here. So what I'm going to do is, let me actually, I'm going to do this. Yeah, I'm probably going to do this. Extrude this up, and like that. That's going to be the nose, and then here I'm going to extrude the top of the eye here, and the thought process here is the same. I want to have more detail, be able to add more detail as I wish, so that's why I'm creating these loops. Okay, so let's do it like that, I guess. This is the eye. Okay, so you can see here it's very exaggerated and everything is very flat, but that is of course going to change. So I'm going to use this process here and speed up the video, and you can I'm going to stop whenever I do something that I haven't done before. Yeah. Okay, so I'm already at this stage going to start by stopping having this model as a flat plane, and then I'm also going to be able to add some details in the eye and the nose area. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select, probably start by select this one, and with proportional editing on, I'm going to press G and extrude this and scale it up a bit just to get the nose out a bit. And I'm going to press Y to just move it along the Y axis. And then you can see here that it's going to look a bit strange. That's fine. Okay, so as you can see now, this doesn't really look too good, but the main purpose now is just to create a base topology that I feel does what it needs to do. So more or less make sure that you have the vertices and the faces where you want them to. And now, as you can see, I still have the smoothing to flat. So I'm first going to select the face select tool, select all, and change it to smooth. And then I'm going to start by actually doing some sculpting here. And I always feel that it's a very good process to just model and sculpt. But what I then want to do is to go in here to the overlay and choose the wireframe. Just slide down the opacity a bit so you actually can see the wireframe as you are sculpting. I also always put on X symmetry, so whatever you do here, it's mirrored on this side. And what you can see now is that when I start sculpting here, this is actually supposed to be going outside of the model. It actually doesn't. So that's the reason for that, is that the normals are actually inverted. So I'm going to select all of this, go into the mesh and normals and recalculate outside. You won't see any difference here, but when I now start to mold the sculpt, you can see that it actually does what it should. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go into the smooth brush here. I'm going to just smooth everything out a bit here, just to get the, the topology a bit better here. I'm then going to use the grab tool down here and just try to create a basic shape that I feel a bit more comfortable with working with. And when you're in the mirror modifier mode here, you don't want to do things like this, because then you will destroy the model more or less. So I'm actually going to do some of this work here. I'm probably going to remove the mirror modifier or apply the mirror modifier at some time, and I reapply it. Just because I feel that's something I need to do, just to make sure that I don't mess up the model. And now that I'm looking at this model, I can feel that there's way too much faces in this area here. So I'm actually going to apply the same thing we did with the nose here. So I'm going to use the circle select here, and I'm going to select a couple of vertices here, faces here. I'm going to remove them. Let's see. Well, probably okay. And then I'm going to go back to the select box here, and just rotate this a bit around. No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to select all these faces, move them too. And I'm going to go into the left-hand view. I'm going to try to extrude the basic shape of the head. When I come up here about here, I'm going to press S for scale, and then I'm going to press Y to select the Y-axis, and then 0 to actually zero out this. So you get that it goes from being like very distorted to being a bit more normal. I'm trying to follow along, so we have a similar amount of edges here and here, just to make sure to be able to bridge those gaps later. Yes, something like that. And it's not going to look great right now, as I said before, but yeah, we're working on it. That's why we're here. So let's see, we're gonna have, of course, the ears right about here. So what we want to do is to leave a hole there. Right now I'm just gonna bridge this like that. Probably gonna be here. So let's do the same thing here. I am going to add more detail in here, of course, but right now this is going to be fine. So let's add a loop cut here and probably one more here. I'm going to select all of these by holding Alt and pressing there. You select all of the loops connected here. I then go and I'll do some smoothing of the vertices here to make it a bit better. You can see here something weird happened. I'm going to merge these vertices here. There. Okay, so now I have the base of the ear. Of course, the proportions of this head is not good. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to extrude this downwards. Just like that. Okay, good. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually apply this mirror modifier. I have to go to object mode, then apply it. And then I'm going to start doing the base sculpt right about now. And if you see something like this, it has to do with that there's some face sets, but you can just take face sets here from visible and they remove that. Okay, now I'm going to start the basic modeling of this head, just to get a bit more reasonable look. So I'm using the crease tool here just to create some creases here to make it look better. And I mean, if you remove this, yeah, right now I don't really know what happened here. I've probably forgotten to add some faces that are not shaded smooth. Yeah, like that. Good. So yeah, as you can see, this doesn't look good, but I always do the the detail sculpting. I mean, that's in the end. That's when it actually starts looking good. I'm gonna stress this several times, because if you come in at this stage, yeah, this is not very nice looking. Okay, so now it actually starts looking a bit more like a human. So that is good. So at this stage, I'm actually going to continue modeling this side, and even though I don't have a mirror modifier working, just to yeah, I don't have to do that process once more. I can show you how that will be done later. Okay, so I don't really like modeling ears, that's one thing, but I'll so I'm just going to do some simplified ears at this stage. They still look good, I assure you, but let's see, that was stupid. I'm actually going to add the mirror modifier back. So that's the reason. I mean, if you do something and you find some issue on one side, then you will want to have that applied to the other side. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to go into the X-ray mode here with the faces selected. I'm going to remove all of the things on the right side of the model by pressing X and faces. Then you have this here, and I can actually start molding here. And then add the mirror modifier later, doesn't really matter. But what I can see here is, I mean, this edge here is actually ending in a triangle here. Doesn't really need to, because I don't need this detail. So what I'm going to do in edit mode, I remove the X-ray here. I'm actually going to select this edge here by holding Alt, then I select all of it. And I press X and I do dissolve edges. Then I just remove that edge. And I do the same thing here. See, now we have no triangles there. So let's do, and then I'm going to select this here, and I'm going to actually use the edge slide here and just slide this down a bit. Do the same thing here to get a bit more nice topology. Okay. Okay, that worked fine. So now I'm going to create the mouth here, the inside of the mouth rather. So I'm going to do that by selecting one of these, and I'm going to extrude it along the y-axis out a bit. So I'm going to select the top of the mouth here, and extrude that to the top, and the bottom, extrude that to the bottom. And then I'm going to go and take that one and put that one there. Yeah, let's merge these at center. And then, of course, this is just going to be the inside mouth, so we're not going to see that. That's the detail, but let's go to the side mode view by pressing number 3, extrude, and then I'm going to scale it up along the Z-axis. What I want to do now is I don't want that much detail here, so I'm going to go into select and then checker deselect. So I select every other edge here, and I press X and collapse edges and faces. And that went a bit weird, so let's move this one. Yeah, maybe I should actually continue having this for now, or rather, let's use those. And extrude it along the y-axis again. I lost some here. Of course I did. Yeah, sorry. Extrude along the y-axis. Let's do the scale it up along the Z again a bit. And then you try to do this again. Yes, don't really like this. It's, yeah, let's do it like that. Doesn't really matter. Of course, the inside of the mouth, nobody's gonna look there. So, then continue here. I'm gonna do the same here with the eye. And actually, I am going to add some more detail here to the eye. So what we're going to do then is we're going to add back the mirror modifier like so. I'm going to, as you can see here, we have some merges here. So by holding Alt and pressing this, you will select all the edges along the middle here. And then I'm going to press G and move this. Of course, you need the clipping on first. And then you press GX first to one side and then to other, just to make sure that everything is merged like that. And then for good measures, you can actually select everything, press M, and then merge by distance. Yeah, remove 0 vertices, so it's good. Okay, good. Now we can actually do the finalization of the base mesh here, because this doesn't really look too good. I'm actually going to keep the mirror modifier on here, and I am going to do some finalizations here of the model, because I actually want to have some more details in some areas. For instance, I would like to have more detail here. In edit mode, I'm going to add another loop cut there. Let's see, I probably want to add another one. Yeah, let's do that as we go along. And I want to have more detail here. The loop cut here, and as you can see, it just goes all the way down here, and I don't have to have too much detail back here, which I would have had if I just would have continue this one to the end there. Okay, there we go. So I'm going to, as I said, add some detail as we go along. And right now, I would probably want to add some nostrils here. I'm going to use the knife tool here and create a triangle here instead. So I'm going to do this loop cut that actually ends here. So I don't have to have that go all the way up. But of course, I will then lose some detail here. Get the weird polygon there. So I can do like that. And I'm going to have to fix this later. That's okay. I can actually do that right now by just, if I move this one by dissolve edges, we get the face quad there and the triangle there. Okay, good. Oops. Okay, something like that. And now I'm actually going to add in, for my previous videos, I have created some eyes and some teeth. Okay, so now I've added in the teeth here and the eye. I did that by appending this model. But of course, you can model your own or do whatever you want. But yeah, they end up as collections right here. So first thing I'm going to do, of course, is to get the eye in the correct place. Let's do it there. Move it in a bit. Let's go in here and try to get it positioned where it should be. And of course, it might actually clip over. So I mean, it spills over a bit, but that's okay because that's why we have it there. And then I'm gonna add a mirror modifier to that one. And I'm actually gonna use the mirror object. It's gonna be our cube that is actually our head. Like so. Then we have two eyes here. And this looks strange, but so let's give it down a bit. Maybe something like that. But you still want them to be as base for the sculpting here. Of course, the teeth here are positioned as I positioned them at the end of the last video. So I'm gonna see if I can move these up to get a fairly good example. Okay, like that. Let's move them in here. So, okay, they look very yellow now, but that's because the face is completely white. Okay, great. Now we can see if this looks fairly proportional. I think we're gonna move them in a bit, actually. And then we can start sculpting here with the help of our eyes and teeth. So, the idea here is also that I'm going to want to be able to modify this character using shape keys later. So, I mean, if it looks a bit weird right now, I mean, the idea is that you're supposed to be able to change his appearance. So I'm going to show you how to do that in a later video, but yeah, for now, I guess this is actually going to be fine. There it is. Finding more. I don't know. I'm having a hard time getting the eyes, the feel for the eyes. If they're too big, too small. Well, I guess that's something we have to fix later. Okay, great. So I'm just going to do some final finishing here. Let's see. just to make sure that we have a very good as good base model as possible for when we start to do the next step, which will be the detailing and the detail sculpting, and we're going to do some painting just to make sure the texture painting, just to get the details on, because if you look here, I actually added some base color here, but other than that, this is quite a bland model as it looks right now, but with some clever normal mapping and detail painting, I think this will be quite a passable model for a game or such. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add some more detail to the lips here. So let's start by, I'm going to actually move these in a bit just to be able to add more detail here. Let me add 2 loop cuts here, like that, because I want to have more detail in the lip area. I'm also going to see if I can do something about the eyes. I think they have a bit too little an eyelid here. Something like that, perhaps. Yeah, and pull out this a bit. This is all tweaking at this point. So yeah, a bit more detail here in the eye area. And this is once again a good thing to have loops like this, because what I can do now is I can go in and add, let's have 2 loop cuts here and here. Now we have a lot more detail in the eye area. So if you want to do some animations with like blinking or such, yeah, it will be a lot easier. Okay, let's now go into sculpting mode. I'm going to turn off this one here. Just see if I can do some final adjustments here. Change the opacity here a bit just to make sure that we. Yeah, I think something like this will be fine for now. So this is going to be our base model that we're going to do the detail sculpting on, and like color detailing, texture painting on. So yeah, this is like a base mesh to start modeling and creating a good game ready model on. So I'm going to add this to the I'm going to upload this so you can have a link to it, so you can download it if you want to, and just have this as a base, because this is probably what you're going to use for the start of the next video. Okay, so great. Up next time, please like and subscribe, and in the next video we're going to look into how to color it in and make details and stuff. So yeah, bye.